Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Inside Man United. My name is Rowan Brennan, and today is match day. This is the big one. It's Arsenal versus Man United at Arsenal, and there's been a bit of team news over the weekend. Some people missing, some potential additions, some debuts could be given out today. So a very big day for Manchester United and some of its new recruits. Arsenal look like they have some changes possibly that they need to make now that some personnel have been injured. A few things to go through. Does that change the tactical focus? Who knows? But we're going to go through the team news now and see how that might affect the big game coming up at 4:30 today. Let's get into it. So kicking us off will be Arsenal news on their potential lineup. Big news in that Thomas Partey is going to be injured for this game. Now, Partey has obviously come into Arsenal originally as a midfielder, a destroyer, a defensive-minded player to help out the defence. But it looks like Arteta has been experimenting with Partey at right back and putting Ben White into the centre-half positions, partnering Saliba. Much to people's surprise, breaking up the Saliba-Gabriel centre-half partnership. For tactical reasons, he's wanted Partey to come into the central positions, with then Ben White pushing out right slightly, with Saliba playing more centrally, and at least in the first couple of games, QER was coming in from the left. It looks like QER is now going to be replaced by the returning Zinchenko, who's been out through injury. A welcome return for one of Arsenal's kind of, I thought, key players last season. He played a very, very important role in what he did. He had a very strong impact when he first came in. But overall, I think he had a very good maiden season with Arsenal. He's back. That's huge news. And it looks now like Ben White is going to be squeezing out onto that right-hand side. And a welcome return for Gabriel to partner with Saliba in those centre-half positions. So I think we're going to see Ben White and Zinchenko, primarily Zinchenko, that's what his role was when he played, coming in to complete that box midfield, probably resulting in Saliba moving out wide a little bit as the left-footed player, leaving Gabriel in the middle and Ben White going further up on the right-hand side, or coming into midfield, depending on which side is going to be coming in to complete that box midfield. So Gabriel being essentially left with the duties that were originally Saliba's, Saliba being the kind of last man back while every other defender would kind of go into midfield and push up the sides. We saw with the early goal against Fulham that Saliba was basically isolated on his own and trying to track back, chasing down Herrera. And yeah, it does leave them very, very exposed. And it looks like Gabriel is going to be the player that's going to be in the middle, hanging back as much as possible, with Saliba drifting a little bit more up and to the left, with Ben White doing the same on the right-hand side. So what does that mean for Arsenal's lineup in midfield? It looks like a return to type. We're not going to have two destroyers in there with Partey and Rice. It's going to be Odegaard, Havertz, and Rice, the middle three, making up Arsenal's midfield. Does this expose them a little bit? United fans would think yes. Havertz hasn't had a great time of it. He's not a very defense-minded player. It means one less defensive-minded player in midfield, potentially for United to have to contend with Partey being gone. I think in a game like this, with both defenses being kind of leaky and some tactical, I suppose, a lack of tactical cohesion going on, even at Arsenal, who were doing so well last year, seemed to be experimenting with a few different formations and things, very much like Erik ten Hag has at the beginning of this season, with Mason Mount coming into the midfield and trying to make an attacking front five, essentially, leaving Casemiro again isolated in those more defensive positions, leaving gaping holes in the middle of the field. So with Arsenal now lacking that kind of defensive presence as part of Partey, it looks like Odegaard and Havertz will be kind of pushing further up the pitch. So this could leave some opportunities in the middle of the park for United. I would have thought that for sure if my prediction from a few days ago had come true, which was to have Jadon Sancho as a false nine with McTominay partnering Casemiro, just to kind of shore up that midfield and make sure everything was a little bit more tight, condensed, compact, with a bit more grit and physicality in there that I think Eriksen would be able to offer. However, big news coming out of United is Jadon Sancho and Scott McTominay have both been excluded from the matchday squad. The reasons for which, at least now at the time of me recording this, are completely unclear. Scott McTominay seems to be fit. Jadon Sancho also seems to be fit, unless something has happened in training that we don't know about. And this news just coming out a result of, the squads having to be confirmed and those names being missing and it getting out into the ether. I'm sure there might be some update closer to kickoff as to why those two key kind of people and part of the personnel are going to be missing, not only from the starting lineup, but from the squad altogether. It's a very, very strange one. I hope some light is shed on that between now and kickoff. But very odd. I was hoping that Jadon Sancho would be able to potentially play a false nine position and not give Anthony Martial another start. He's essentially been like a bloody scarecrow up there. You might as well have a broom stuck into the ground. And I hate saying that. I love Anthony Martial. I've seen him play live so many times at Old Trafford, and I had so much hope and love for him. I love singing his song, but it's just been too long. It's time to let go. This guy will never fulfill the promise that he has shown in the past, but I don't think ever will again, at least not in a consistent enough manner to maintain a place, not even just in United's starting 11, but in the squad overall. But on the other side of that, Rasmus Hojlund is traveling with the squad. It is believed he's going to be making his debut against Arsenal, but there's also rumors that he's going to be starting. And what a game for Hojlund to be getting his debut away at Arsenal, leading the line, all the hype, the huge price tag, United's known issues with having no dedicated striker and number 9 up there to stick the ball in the onion bag. And probably the first proper striker that we have bought since Van Persie, really. And you go, what about Ibrahimovic and Falcao and all? These were guys on this is the first proper number 9 acquisition United have made in probably 10 years. It's been a lot of stopgaps, older guys, tail end of their career, can't play 40 games a season, potential injury issues, being 35, usually minimum. Cavani came in at 34, Ibrahimovic at 35, Ronaldo at 35. Or was it 37 now? I can't even remember. These are not the kind of players that should be leading the line or that you can build a team around with any sort of long-term plan, which it's clear that's what Erik ten Hag has. I would love to see Hojlund start. Just to get a feel for the game from the very beginning. It'd be great to hear the roar he might be able to get from the away end when he does come on, but it would be good to see him starting. Apparently he's been training very, very well, with Ten Hag quoted as saying he's been displaying the same tendencies during our scouting missions. In Italy, he's been displaying the exact same things in training. We're seeing exactly what we saw during our scouting missions, and it's all very, very kind of encouraging news coming out of how he's trained so far. And he has said there's every chance that he could start. That is huge news. So with the left-back position still a little bit iffy, is it time for Reguilón to come in and start and make his debut as well for United against Arsenal? Obviously, he's a Spurs guy. This is going to be quite a hostile reception for him, I would imagine, being a Spurs player. But will he start from the very beginning? Does Ten Hag want to start with Dalot and then maybe bring Reguilón on, depending on how Dalot is getting on? The one upside, I don't think Dalot has been playing very well, but the one upside to Dalot playing on the left-hand side is that he's a right-footed player, and Saka is a left-footed player playing on the right-hand side. It could be really interesting for Dalot to have, the ability to properly cover Saka's runs into the half space and those more central channels with his strongest foot. So could that be something that pushes Saka out wide? Probably not, because he is a left-footed player. So it could be quite an interesting and an equal matchup to have a right back playing as an inverted centre half against an inverted winger, inverted fullback against an inverted winger. So it's interesting how that could pan out. Wan-Bissaka clearly gets the nod with Varane out injured. It looks like it's going to be Lindelof and Martinez in the middle of the park. It's a big game for those guys, and a lot's going to be asked of them, particularly with that front three. But we'll see how things pan out in the centre of the park. How are United going to line up? It probably looks like it's Casemiro, Fernandes, and Eriksen, with McTominay not even being available on the bench to come on should Eriksen get run into the ground a little bit, or maybe the match will just kind of get past him a little bit. This is going to be a very energetic, very robust midfield battle today, and I hope Eriksen is up for it, at least for 60 minutes until someone else can come in and help him out a little bit. It does look like Hannibal is on the bench. Ten Hag having said he didn't want to sell him or put him on loan because he has big first team plans for Hannibal this season. So I for one, I'm very excited to see that. A lot of United fans have been looking at Hannibal come in with his sideshow bob hair about 4 years ago, I believe. And there was big noise about this kid, and everyone's been just waiting to see him blossom into a first team player and to try and get his opportunities. And it seems this is the year that's going to happen. So I, for one, as a United fan that doesn't just look at the squads of the first team, but I always keep a keen eye on the youth players and seeing who's coming up next. Most of them won't make it, but you're still excited and hold out hope for them. But Hannibal always looked like, and was always spoken about as one of those players that could genuinely put a push onto that first team, and it looks like he's going to get it. So will he get some minutes tomorrow? What a big responsibility for him coming into that midfield, but it'll be a real test of his character to see if he can rise to the occasion, and I have every faith in the young lad that he can and will, if he's given those minutes. Up front, I am hoping to see Marcus Rashford on the left. I think it's pretty clear that's where he's going to start. With the absence of Sancho potentially being able to play a false nine, it's going to be either Anthony Martial or Hojlund coming on. I think with how ineffective Martial has been since he started, why not stick the kid in? I hope Hojlund starts, and just for the hell of it, for shits and gigs, I'm going to say, yeah, Hojlund starts up front. Why not? I'm just too giddy to see this kid, so I hope he starts in the very, very beginning. And out on the right hand side, would you play Anthony, or would you have Pellistri coming in? With an inexperienced left back, potentially Hannibal coming in as well in the midfield. Could it be a stretch too much to have another young lad starting the game on the right hand side with Hojlund up front? It could be a bit of a stretch to do that. So I'm going to say Anthony starts the game with Pellistri breathing heavily down his neck, with a lot of pressure on Anthony to perform now, particularly in a game like this. He did show some improvement against Nottingham Forest. There was certainly the will. The guy is busting his ass to try and get those performances in. So the worry now is the attitude is there, the willingness is there, the intensity, the aggression. You can see how much he wants it. Is it just a lack of ability? Is he not able to take that step up from the Eredivisie into the Premiership, as we've seen so often? A lot of fans getting quite tired, and I feel sorry for him because he didn't ask to be £100 million. I mean, the price originally was thought to be around 30 or 40. But, unfortunately, he does have that price tag attached to him. And with that just comes additional pressure, whether it's fair or not. Life's not fair. He's getting paid a lot of money to play for one of the best clubs in the world. Sympathy is on very short supply for guys that are in that position. So, unfortunately, Anthony, it's time to put up or shut up. So I do think Anthony's going to get the nod, but Pellistri, I think, is going to be sharpening his studs and getting ready to come in should Anthony have too quiet a game. But here's hoping Wan-Bissaka and Anthony keep on forging, developing that relationship that they've been able to kind of put together on the right-hand side. He is certainly able to help Anthony out in those attacking areas to try and do the 1-2s, to pull the fullbacks out into those wide positions so Anthony can cut it in onto his favourite left foot and lay balls off into those central channels, take a shot on goal, cross the box crosses for maybe late runs from Marcus and maybe from Hojlund, who likes to play very deep. Comes in from the left-hand side, likes to play in those central channels, picking up the ball from deep, playing it out to the wide areas, and then coming in late for those second balls. That's really what he does. And I, for one, am super excited to see what he's like. This is not Erling Haaland. He's not a goal-hanging poacher that's just looking for those killer blows. He's building up play from the back. He's making runs. He's bringing others into it. And I can't wait to see what he does. My prediction for the match, I'm going to try and stay positive and say 1-1. I am leaning more towards if there's going to be a winner, it's going to be Arsenal. But this United team is capable of doing anything. They really, really are. They haven't had a good performance so far. They had a great comeback and showed some real strong character in their performance against Forest. But I think a more clinical team than Forest, who created the chances they did, could have put 3, 4, or 5 past that United team. And that Arsenal team will not miss the same chances that were afforded to Nottingham Forest. So I am going to say 1-1 just to remain positive, but I'm saying 1-1 with a little kind of suck of the teeth. I'm not so sure, but I'm going to stay positive. 1-1 away from home. I would absolutely snatch your hand off if we were offered a point before kickoff. That's it anyway for all the news. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification if you'd like to get updates if and when new videos are coming out. I'm trying to get one out every day and maybe 2 on the occasions when I have the time. I really appreciate you tuning in. Leave comments. Who do you think is going to start? Who do you think will start? Who do you think should start? What are your thoughts on how the new boys should be coming in? Should they be going from the very get-go like Regulion and Hojlund? Or should we stick with some of the guys that we've had since the beginning of the season and just ease these players into what is going to be a monster of a game? I cannot wait. After the game, I'll be doing a review. I'll get that up as soon as possible. And thanks for tuning in. See you after the game.